Hello, I'm Steve Morris. I'm the vicar at St Cuthbert's, North Wembley.
Hi, I'm Barry Hingston. I'm the vicar at St John's, Greenhill in Harrow.
And I'm Trevor Goddard, and I'm the vicar of the Annunciation in South Kenton.
Well, guys, it's great to have you here. Thank you so much. We're just going to kick off the idea of Advent, really, and trying to get to the bottom of what it's all about and why it's important. So that's my question, really. You know, Advent now is just about Advent calendars, isn't it? Why is it still important? Barry.
Well, it's a time of preparation. It's a time of, I think, a time of thinking and just not letting the season wash over you. Especially if you've been alive as long as I have, you've been through 50 odd Christmases, it can get a little bit repetitive. And also connecting with its true meaning, because Advent, Christmas, Yuletide, midwinter party has all become merged into one. Whereas Advent, I think, means something very specific to Christians.
Thanks, Barry. Trevor, how about you?
Yeah, I found something you really got to work at to make it meaningful. Before I was a Christian, Advent didn't really mean very much to me. But over sort of many years being involved with Advent, it's become quite an important part of my journey, really. And we used to go away on retreat. We don't manage to get away on retreat for Advent anymore. But it's the beginning of the liturgical year as well. So it really gives you a good start to the year, and to think about your whole journey with God throughout this whole year, if you start off Advent really well. So I think it's quite an important time of year for us to just encourage everybody to think about Advent and to start their new journey for a new year with God.
Yeah, thanks, Trevor. I suppose in a way, when the world has been so uncertain as it has been, and perilous, really, just to have the certainty of those kind of underpinning bits of the year that we can go back to. I personally feel it makes me feel a bit more kind of solid, a bit more secure. And I mean, I didn't really grow up in the church. I didn't grow up as an Anglican, but I do find the church year and that celebrating the different parts of the year one of the things that I really, really enjoy. I appreciate it more and more. Now, obviously, Barry, you and I, we wrote our book, Frontline Advent, and we called it Frontline Advent, I think, because we wanted to be kind of quite gritty and real, didn't we, about the challenges we face. And Barry, maybe you can just say a bit about, your appreciation of the book and your particular parts, because you wrote the teaching stuff, didn't you?
I did. I'm mindful that we're writing an Advent book in lockdown, as I remember it, in 30-degree heat in the garden. I was writing it. So I was writing about, leaden skies and robin redbreast and all this sort of stuff, and having to go indoors for a glass of water every 10 minutes because it was so hot. So it felt a bit like an Australian Christmas, really. But the circumstances around me as I was writing it were quite grim. The weather was great, but the circumstances were very challenging. And living where I live, I'm not as near as you, but I'm not far from Northwick Park Hospital, which was a designated COVID hospital. And there were times as I was writing my pieces for this book where the ambulance sirens literally never stopped. They weren't every 10 minutes, they were all the time. And it was just a reminder that we live in and under the mercy of creation, and that God visited that creation, came and became one with it in order to redeem it. And that for me is a very real, gritty, we call it the incarnation, don't we? That's not aloof, otherworldly spirituality. That is gritty, connected, and down to earth, literally down to earth. That's what God with us means. So it just helped me get through that season, actually. It wasn't just a fun thing to do on the side. It was something that was connected with what was going on around me, even though the sun was out and I was sweating buckets,
Thanks. Yeah, I mean, I know that's true because, as you say, it was really striking, wasn't it? In those early days, there was no traffic on the road. All I could hear was the birds in the garden and the ambulances. It was pretty terrifying. Trevor, I want to ask you. I mean, you've read the book and and I know you're running a home group about it. I mean, what is it about it that you noticed, and what might you say to people who were thinking of maybe getting hold of the book as well?
Well, it's a great book. It's been really encouraging. It's had some very good reviews as well. And I just like the contrast in it. I think the poems, the reflections on the poems, and the study are really quite enlightening, and do take you on as you were saying, quite a nice gritty journey. I just like the introduction as well. That poem about nature and the fact that autumn's here, winter's here, and as we enter into this time of year, it's quite a dark time of year, isn't it? When there doesn't look like there's much hope around us, but we start Advent thinking about hope and our hope for the future, and it's a really good way for us to enter into Advent. And I think it's new and fresh material as well. It's not like other Advent books that are out there, so it's good to try something really new.
Oh, thank you. I mean, one of the things I know I say in the introduction is that I still think that Advent's a quite a mysterious, unsettling kind of season. I mean, partly that's because of the weather in the Northern Hemisphere. I always feel a bit unsettled during winter. I mean, I never feel particularly well. I feel better when it's sun shining, and it does seem a kind of strange between times place, where all the things that are familiar are suddenly dying. And I suppose in a way, that's really what I felt when we began writing it. That there was this kind of somehow we were at the end of something. But the more I got writing the book, it kind of brought me back to that we're actually at the beginning of something again. And I think that was really quite reassuring in a way. Now, I wonder, friends, just so we're gonna stop now, but have any of you got one of the poems in front of you that you'd like to read for us, just to give us a flavour of that? I'm going to start with Barry. Do you have one?
Yeah, it's one by Alwyn Marriage, who's in the book, and it's called Hope at Year's Turning. And I picked this one because it's kind of relevant, given that as we look to the new year, we're all thinking new reality, vaccines, a hope at the light at the end of the tunnel, and all that sort of stuff. And it just kind of touches on that. Do you want me to read it?
Yes, please.
Okay. This is called Hope at Year's Turning by Alwyn Marriage. The 12th stroke makes its statement firm and clear. As midnight closes, I too draw a line, and through the darkness turn to face the day, more new, unspoilt, and full of promises than those I've chewed at, choked on, and spat out, that now lie well behind me. After such a year, what can we hope for? What stake our lives on? Is there still a spark that flickers through the darkness we have known? Neither wishful thinking nor assurance, poised between faith, coin of the church, and love, the best of all, hope springs eternal, leaps and bounds, believes in bud and leaf and flower, and puppy-like joyfully welcomes friend and foe. Against all recent evidence, I throw myself into the arms of hope for the new year.
Barry, thank you. I can think of no better place to pause. Thank you, friends. If you're looking at this podcast, thank you so much for coming. We really welcome your comments on the book Frontline Advent by Steve Morris and Barry Hengsten. Thank you so much for joining. Goodbye.